Patriarch Miro moved like a streak of light, his speed countless times faster than Han Li's. In a short span, he traversed tens of millions of kilometers. Yet the golden expanse still stretched endlessly ahead, with no boundary in sight. After flying onward for some time, Patriarch Miro suddenly descended, coming to a halt before a colossal golden mountain below. The mountain pierced the clouds, blotting out nearly half the sky ahead, like a slumbering golden beast crouched upon the earth. Its entire body radiated brilliant golden light, and every rock upon it pulsed with fluctuations of time law power. These fluctuations merged into a vast, surging tide that filled the surrounding space. Before Han Li could even steady himself, an overwhelming wave of law power crashed toward him. His body staggered back several steps before he regained his balance. He stared at the mountain in shock and blurted out, "Are those rocks all xumi star rocks?" As a cultivator of the laws of time, Han Li was intimately familiar with materials imbued with time attributes. At a glance, he could tell that the entire mountain was formed from xumi star rock, an exceedingly precious time attribute material said to originate from the boundless void beyond the true immortal realm. Even a fragment could fetch an astonishing price, let alone an entire mountain of such scale. "This is the Golden Xumi Mountain," Patriarch Miro explained calmly. "It was obtained from beyond the true immortal realm by the 11th master of the true mantra sect, Taoist master Tianxi. It is also the core of the true mantra profound domain." As expected of a sect capable of contending with the heavenly court, Han Li praised sincerely. At this point, the flow of time in the surroundings had already accelerated to several hundred times that of the outside world. Han Li's heart stirred uncontrollably. If such conditions could be replicated, one could cultivate hundreds of times faster than others, a temptation almost impossible to resist. He couldn't help but wonder how the true mantra sect had accomplished such a feat. "Come," Patriarch Miro said with a faint smile as he continued onward. At the foot of the Golden Mountain stood a single structure, a vast palace constructed entirely from xumi star rock. It was dazzling and majestic, yet there were no plaques or inscriptions to indicate its purpose. The palace gates were tightly shut, each bearing a Phrops symbol. Patriarch Miro stepped forward, golden light blooming over his palms as he pressed them against the symbols. Instantly, the gates erupted with radiant golden brilliance, and 4 golden deity projections emerged. The first was a square-faced man clad in golden armor, gripping a massive axe and shield. The second bore a golden beak in place of a mouth, 8 golden wings on its back, and a crystalline 3-legged golden crow perched atop its head. The third was a plump, childlike girl with stubby wings, a bright halo above her head, and a small golden bow fitted with a heart-shaped arrow. The fourth was a stunning 6-armed woman holding a guqin, bianzhong, vertical flute, pipa, bell, and war drum, all producing harmonious music. The 4 deities immediately fixed Patriarch Miro with vigilant, hostile gazes. Patriarch Miro began chanting softly, golden runes pouring from his mouth and fusing into the deities' bodies. Gradually, the hostility faded from their eyes, and they retreated to either side as the palace gates slowly opened. Patriarch Miro beckoned, and Han Li followed him inside. Beyond the gates lay a vast hall spanning thousands of feet. At its center, intricate golden patterns were engraved into the floor, forming an immense and unfathomably complex array. Golden light and runes surged throughout it, yet all were perfectly contained within its boundaries. 2 stone pillars stood beside the array, one golden and one white, both forged from xumi star rock. The golden pillar was rooted to the ground and covered in flame-shaped runes, while the white pillar bore silver inscriptions. Above the white pillar hovered a black hole flickering with dark light. Immortal origin stones continuously flew out of the black hole, streaming into the array and dissolving into pure immortal spiritual power. Simultaneously, blazing golden light poured from the golden pillar, injecting torrents of time law power into the formation. Sustained by these forces, the array roared to life. Spheres of golden light the size of heads rose from within, each radiating formidable time law fluctuations. Suspended above the array was a golden plate etched with complex patterns. At its center protruded a thumb-sized bulge, from which a golden needle extended. The golden spheres surged into the plate, and the needle began spinning rapidly. Rings of golden light rippled outward, vanishing into the surrounding space. Han Li's eyes widened in astonishment. He realized that this array, and more precisely, the golden plate, was the true source of the accelerated time flow throughout the entire true mantra profound domain. Even more shocking was the fact that this plate was identical to the one he had once obtained from the ruins of the true mantra sect. As you've surely noticed, time flows differently here than in the outside world, Patriarch Miro said. The reason is this heavenly wheel sundial. It can alter the flow of time, and it is the foundation of our sect's strength. With such a treasure, disciples of the true mantra sect could cultivate dozens or even hundreds of times faster than others. No wonder the sect had risen to such heights. This heavenly wheel sundial is truly extraordinary, Han Li said slowly. But it must consume vast quantities of immortal origin stones and time law power. This array is also far from ordinary. This is the celestial time array, Patriarch Miro replied. One of the 10 most powerful ancient arrays. Without it, the heavenly wheel sundial cannot function. Immortal origin stones are not the issue. The true difficulty lies in maintaining a constant supply of time law power. Fortunately, the golden xumi mountain contains near limitless reserves, making it ideal for this purpose. Han Li's heart sank slightly. Even for the true mantra sect, establishing such a domain had been an immense undertaking. His hopes of wielding the heavenly wheel sundial on his own dimmed considerably. However, Patriarch Miro added meaningfully, altering the flow of time across an entire domain requires astronomical resources. If the affected area is small, the consumption is far less. Han Li's expression stiffened. It felt as though Patriarch Miro was speaking with the assumption that the heavenly wheel sundial would one day fall into his hands. Come, there is more to see deeper within, Patriarch Miro said, moving forward once more. They circled past the array and proceeded down a long corridor, eventually arriving at a fork. The path to the right shone brightly, emanating powerful law auras from numerous immortal treasures, many of them time-attributed. The left path, by contrast, appeared plain and subdued. To the right is our treasure vault, Patriarch Miro explained. Let us first visit the scripture hall on the left. That is where our most precious cultivation arts and secret techniques are stored. He led Han Li into a rectangular golden hall. Grids were carved into both walls, each containing a book or jade slip sealed behind a barrier of golden light. Beside every grid was a small plaque bearing the name of the scripture within. The moment Han Li laid eyes upon the countless time attribute secret techniques displayed throughout the hall, a sharp gleam lit up in his eyes, as though a door to an entirely new world had been flung open before him. This true mantra palm seal allows one to condense time law powers into a palm projection bearing 9 concentric rings, Patriarch Miro explained unhurriedly. Each ring can store a different type of time law power. The more you accumulate, the stronger the palm becomes. Should you succeed in gathering all 9 types, the palm seal will reach its zenith, possessing the might to obliterate nearly anything beneath heaven. He went on to introduce the time destruction divine light, an offensive art that transformed time law into a beam of light capable of piercing even through space itself. Since the plaques beside each grid bore only the names of the techniques, Patriarch Miro personally described each scripture to Han Li in turn. With every explanation, Han Li's astonishment deepened. The techniques housed here were profound far beyond his expectations, and there were hundreds of them filling the hall. Among them, he even spotted the reversal true axis, the eye of truth, and the mantra domain, arts he himself had already cultivated. I can tell you've learned some of the techniques here, Patriarch Miro remarked suddenly, but your progress is quite shallow, which is truly regrettable. In particular, the reversal true axis and the mantra domain both possess immense potential that you have yet to tap. Please enlighten me. Senior Miro, Han Li said at once, bowing respectfully. The reversal true axis is a very singular ability. It does only one thing, Patriarch Miro continued. At present, I assume you can increase your speed by perhaps a dozenfold at most. Those who truly master it can multiply their speed by hundreds, even thousands of times. Han Li drew in a sharp breath, unable to conceal his shock. That is why, despite its simplicity, the Reversal True Axis stands as our true mantra sect's most powerful auxiliary art, Patriarch Miro said calmly. It demands an exceptional physical constitution, but that is not an issue for you. Given your level of body cultivation, it is a great pity that you have neglected it so badly. Hanli's heart began to race, excitement surging through him even as regret gnawed at his chest. He had once believed his mastery of the Reversal True Axis was sufficient and had stopped devoting time to it. Later, after acquiring the Great Five Elemental Illusion mantra, nearly all of his attention had been consumed, leaving his other time-based arts untouched. As for the mantra domain, Patriarch Miro went on, it is an ability that allows one to command the world itself through spoken words. You witnessed a trace of its might during my lecture earlier. He paused briefly before continuing. The requirements on spiritual sense are extremely strict, but once again, that poses no problem for you. It is an enormous waste that your mantra domain remains limited to mere illusions. Han Li, who had spent considerable effort refining his mantra domain, felt a twinge of indignation. But aren't illusions already quite useful on their own? The mantra domain is not meant to deceive ordinary people, Patriarch Miro said sternly. Against someone well-versed in illusion laws, your current mantra domain would be utterly ineffective. Do not continue down this misguided path. Though Patriarch Miro's tone had grown severe, Han Li accepted the rebuke willingly, sensing the genuine concern behind it. By now, he clearly understood the true value of the Reversal True Axis and the mantra domain, both arts perfectly suited to him. Knowing how much time and effort they would require, his interest in the other techniques in the hall gradually waned. Suddenly, his steps halted, and his gaze fixed upon a particular grid containing the immortal Golden Cloud scripture. This is our sect's strongest defensive art, Patriarch Miro said, but its cultivation requirements are extremely harsh. Even though you already possess the method, I advise you to set it aside for now. You already knew? Han Li asked in surprise. Of course, Patriarch Miro replied evenly. I knew the moment you appeared within the True Mantra sect. How could I oversee the sect without such awareness? Han Li felt a wave of embarrassment wash over him. He had believed himself well hidden, yet everything had long been laid bare before Patriarch Miro. His thoughts drifted to his reckless plan of infiltrating the Nine Origins Temple, and cold sweat formed on his back. Had the vile spirit not intervened, he would have either perished or fallen into the grasp of the Nine Origins Temple or the Heavenly Court, fate scarcely different from death. Though his cultivation had advanced at a staggering pace, his state of mind had lagged behind, giving rise to such irrational choices. With a slow breath, Han Li expelled the lingering arrogance and restlessness from his heart, his thoughts finally settling. He continued onward, briefly examining the scriptures he passed, until he reached the very back of the hall. There, beside the final grid, a plaque read Great Five Elemental Illusion Mantra, yet the grid itself was empty. The same was true of the Mantra Axis scripture and the time-severing flowing fire tome. The Great Five Elemental Illusion Mantra is our sect's most treasured art, Patriarch Miro explained. It has always been passed down orally, never committed to writing. Han Li nodded in understanding, though a hint of confusion lingered. Why, then, had the other time-based arts been written down and spread so widely? Perhaps they had disseminated after the sect's destruction at the hands of the Heavenly Court. That concludes the scriptures, Patriarch Miro said with a smile. Shall we take a look at the treasure vault? Han Li readily agreed, and the two entered the adjoining vault. Its layout mirrored the scripture hall, with grids carved into the walls, each housing one or more immortal treasures nurtured by internal arrays. Every treasure here was of extraordinary quality. Even the weakest ranked as a 6th-tier immortal treasure, while the finest rivaled the white bead Han Li had obtained for the Essence Fire Raven. Yet after his moment of self-reflection, Han Li's mind was calm, and none of the treasures stirred his heart. There are other remarkable places within the True Mantra sect, Patriarch Miro offered. Would you care to see them? There's no need, Han Li replied, clasping his fist apologetically. I can see that the True Mantra sect surpasses my imagination, but I am used to walking my own path. I also cannot remain here for long, so I must decline your generous offer to take me as your disciple. The golden wheel above him held only enough time Dao runes to sustain this space for 2 more days. Even if he accepted Patriarch Miro as his master, there would be little time for instruction. Moreover, the true mantra sect remained no match for the towering heavenly court. Any gains he might receive would be outweighed by being dragged into the heart of their conflict. Patriarch Miro showed no displeasure, as though he had anticipated this answer. Smiling faintly, he said, "It seems that wise man judged you correctly. You are clear-headed and not dazzled by what I showed you. That pleases me." Han Li raised an eyebrow. "You believe you can distance yourself from the struggle between our sect and the heavenly court." Patriarch Miro continued, "But that is only because you do not fully understand the Great Five Elemental Illusion Mantra. Anyone who cultivates it, whether or not they join our sect, will inevitably be hunted by the heavenly court, and if I am not mistaken, you are already under their scrutiny, are you not?" "How can you tell?" Han Li asked. "I can sense the aura of the spirit refinement technique and a reincarnation palace mask within you," Patriarch Miro replied lightly. "It is no ordinary mask, which means you are a reincarnation disciple. Coupled with your cultivation of time laws, the heavenly court will never look kindly upon you." "Senior's insight truly leaves me in awe," Han Li sighed, nodding. "Thus," Patriarch Miro concluded, "whether you join our true mantra sect or not will not change the heavenly court's stance toward you. In fact, they have likely already decided that you are one of our disciples." At those words, a shadow crept across Han Li's expression. "Given the mire you have already stepped into, you may as well enter our true mantra sect," Patriarch Miro said calmly. "Your cultivation of the Great Five Elemental Illusion Mantra is impressive, yet it is riddled with flaws. At present, the 5 strands of time law power within you remain weak, so you feel nothing amiss, but once they grow, disorder will follow. When that day comes, the rampant time laws will tear your body apart, leaving you dead without doubt." Han Li's expression darkened. After hearing Patriarch Miro's exposition, his understanding of the Great Five Elemental Illusion Mantra had deepened considerably, and he could already sense faint disharmony within his own body. Though he could not pinpoint the source, he knew with certainty that Patriarch Miro spoke the truth. After a brief pause, Han Li made his choice. "In that case, I am willing to join the true mantra sect," he said, preparing to kneel and kowtow to formally acknowledge Patriarch Miro as his master. Patriarch Miro was overjoyed. With a flick of his hand, an invisible force lifted Han Li upright, preventing him from kneeling. "You and I are not even of the same era. There is no need for such rigid formalities." Han Li looked at him in surprise. "Though I accept you as my disciple, your cultivation is already formidable, and reaching the great encompassment stage is only a matter of time. In name we are master and disciple, but you may treat me as a friend, an equal," Patriarch Miro said with a smile. Han Li was even more astonished by these words. The true mantra sect had always revered hierarchy, especially the bond between master and disciple. As an ancient sect, it was known to uphold such traditions strictly, making Patriarch Miro's attitude all the more unexpected. Still, this suited Han Li well. He had long grown used to walking his path alone, and kneeling before others never sat comfortably with him. "Even so, having taken you as my master, I should observe proper etiquette," Han Li replied respectfully. Patriarch Miro did not press the issue. He sat down on the ground and gestured for Han Li to do the same. Once they were seated face to face, Patriarch Miro's expression turned solemn. "Han Li, how does the true mantra sect fare in your era?" Han Li hesitated, then answered honestly. "In my time, the true mantra sect was annihilated long ago by the heavenly court. Its fall was personally orchestrated by the Time Dao ancestor." "I see," Patriarch Miro said calmly, as though he had expected nothing less. "Master, Chi Mozi cannot be trusted," Han Li said urgently. "He will betray the sect and defect to the heavenly court, nearly destroying it single-handedly. You must act against him swiftly." Patriarch Miro's expression did not change. If such events are ordained by heaven, interfering will serve no purpose. If they are not, then fate cannot be so easily rewritten. Han Li was about to speak again, but Patriarch Miro raised a hand to stop him. "Even if I eliminate Chi Mozi, Who is to say the true mantra sect will survive? There is no need to pursue this matter further. You said your stay here is brief. In the time we have left, display your great 5 elemental illusion mantra so I may see where the problem lies. Han Li complied without further argument, circulating his mantra at full strength. One by one, the mantra treasured axis, the time-severing torch, the clear time vial, the illusory dawn hourglass, and the eastern vicissitudes divine tree appeared, revolving around his body. Time Dao runes shimmered, and countless threads of time law unfurled from the 5 treasures. The 50 time law threads he had consumed to arrive here all came from the time-severing torch, leaving it with just over 100 remaining. The mantra treasured axis bore around 30 threads, while the other 3 treasures each possessed only a handful. Patriarch Miro nodded in approval, then quickly shook his head. Han Li seized the opportunity to ask about his cultivation difficulties, including his failed attempt at the Great Encompassment stage. With cupped fists, he said, "Please enlighten me, Master." The laws of time are among the 3 paramount laws transcending all others. Nothing can escape their influence, Patriarch Miro said slowly. As for the 5 elements, they form the foundation of all laws. The great 5 elemental illusion mantra uses the simplest truths of the 5 elements to unravel the mysteries of time. Han Li listened with rapt attention. The 5 elements exist within all laws, just as time does. They generate and restrain one another, forming an endless cycle. That cycle is the essence of the great 5 elemental illusion mantra. No matter how ages pass, it sustains itself, enduring within the boundless river of time. Han Li felt as though a lamp had been lit in his heart. The long-standing doubt he harbored, why a time-based art relied so heavily on the 5 elements, was finally dispelled. Thus, balance is paramount, Patriarch Miro continued. Only when the 5 elements coexist in harmony can catastrophe be avoided. Your cultivation, however, is gravely unbalanced. Your time-severing fire domain far exceeds your clear time vial, illusory dawn sand domain, and eastern vicissitudes divine tree. With such disparity, how could you hope to break through to great encompassment? I understand, Han Li said, but it is extremely difficult to enhance the other treasures. Time law items are rare, and finding ones compatible with those 3 is even harder. Is there another way to obtain time law threads? The great 5 elemental illusion mantra allows you to refine external time law power directly into law threads. Patriarch Miro replied sternly. Other cultivators must advance their comprehension little by little. Your progress is already countless times faster, yet you still crave more. Han Li smiled wryly. In my era, the heavenly court hunts me relentlessly. I cannot afford slow progress. If the true mantra sect possesses materials imbued with time laws, could I refine them? So that is your aim, Patriarch Miro laughed. I do have such materials, but space-time travel likely imposes restrictions. You may not be able to take them back. Han Li faltered, having overlooked this issue. Still, there is no harm in trying, Patriarch Miro said, sweeping his sleeve. 3 items appeared. A strip of green wood, a broken blue halberd, and a yellow stone. Each radiated formidable time law fluctuations, rivaling those of the Fire Age fireflies' nests. Thank you, Master, Han Li said sincerely. Even if he could not bring them back, the gift itself filled him with joy. Cultivation is a path taken step by step, Patriarch Miro cautioned. Your time law powers are unsettled because you have advanced too quickly. You must slow down and restore balance. Yes, Master, Han Li replied solemnly. One more question. My spirit domain has remained at its most basic form for many years. Why can I not reach the creation or spirit form tier? The laws of time are powerful, but advancement in them is exceedingly difficult, Patriarch Miro said. The same applies to spirit domains rooted in time. This is not something I can aid you with. Only deeper comprehension of time itself will allow progress. Han Li nodded and continued asking questions, ranging from the mantra to immortal treasures and other aspects of cultivation. Patriarch Miro answered each one with ease, his knowledge vast and profound, granting Han Li repeated moments of insight. Before long, nearly all the Time Dao runes on the golden wheel faded away. Though their meeting was brief, Han Li's understanding of the great 5 elemental illusion mantra, the laws of time, and cultivation as a whole had advanced by leaps and bounds. The 2 sat in silence, facing each other. Patriarch Miro seemed to sense Hanli's imminent departure. "Thank you for your guidance, Master," Hanli said, bowing deeply. "I have gained immeasurably." "As your master, it is only right," Patriarch Miro sighed. "Yet I regret being able to teach you so little. Still, since you can traverse space and time, you should be able to return. There remains much I have yet to impart regarding the Great Five Elemental Illusion mantra. I would very much like to return and receive further guidance from you," Hanli said with a helpless smile. "But I have yet to fully master this method of space-time transmigration. Each journey exacts an enormous price, so I may not be able to come back again." "So that is how it is?" Patriarch Miro replied, brows lifting slightly in thought. "In that case, take this with you. It contains the insights I have gained while cultivating the laws of time." With a casual flip of his hand, a jade book appeared. Hanli accepted it with unconcealed delight, clasping his hands in thanks. "Many thanks, Master." "It would be best if you could bring those items back with you," Patriarch Miro continued calmly. "But if you fail, then once you return to your own era, you must visit a place called Yama Manor." "Yama Manor?" Hanli asked in surprise. "Where is that, and why must I go there?" "You will understand when the time comes," Patriarch Miro said with a faint, knowing smile. Though puzzled by these cryptic words, Hanli did not dwell on them. Instead, he bowed again. "Master, I have one more request. Could you give me the diagram for the celestial time array outside?" "That is no problem," Patriarch Miro replied. "The array is not particularly complicated. You should be able to memorize it now." As he spoke, he handed Hanli a jade slip. Hanli immediately infused it with his spiritual sense and began committing the contents to memory. Just as Patriarch Miro had said, the array diagram was straightforward, and he mastered it with ease. At that moment, the final Time Dao rune on the golden ring above Hanli's head faded away. The ring suddenly expanded several-fold, transforming into a black vortex that hovered above him. A terrifying suction force erupted from it, dragging him upward. Patriarch Miro rose to his feet and called out urgently, "Hanli, the Great Five Elemental Illusion mantra is a peerless art capable of reshaping heaven and earth. Even the Time Dao ancestor has coveted it, and countless Dao ancestors are searching for it. You must be extremely cautious." Before he could finish, Hanli was swallowed by the vortex and plunged into darkness. After an unknown length of time, a brilliant white light bloomed before Hanli's eyes. He landed heavily on solid ground, and the heaven-controlling vial dropped into his lap. He steadied his breathing, only to find his vision blurred and the surroundings vague and shadowed. He sat down, cross-legged, and closed his eyes, waiting until his spiritual sense fully stabilized. When he opened them again, he found himself seated on a jutting cliff, surrounded by nothing but a vast blue sky and drifting clouds. Hanli immediately looked to his right hand. The jade slip containing the celestial time array was still there, but it was wrapped in a strange power and rapidly dissolving into nothingness. His expression shifted, and he hurriedly retrieved the 3 time attribute materials Patriarch Miro had given him, along with the copy of the immortal golden cloud. Yet all of them vanished in mere breaths, leaving no trace behind. He was not overly surprised. Patriarch Miro had already warned him this might happen. In truth, the gains from this journey alone were immense, so he did not feel too disappointed. Still, with these items gone, the mention of Yama Manor resurfaced in his mind. He had never heard of such a place, and finding it would clearly require considerable effort, something to worry about later. At that moment, the vile spirit's voice rang out. "It is quite remarkable that you recovered so quickly after such a long physical transmigration, especially without the heaven-controlling vial serving as a space-time anchor." "Thank you for saving me, Senior Vile Spirit," Hanli said respectfully as he took out the vial. "No need for thanks," the vile spirit grumbled. "I must enter hibernation to recover, so you'll be on your own for now. Try not to get yourself killed." "Do you know where we are, Senior?" Hanli asked. "You should already sense it from the world's origin chi. This is the primordial land. As for the exact location, I have no idea. This place is unimaginably vast, perhaps larger than all 3,000 immortal regions combined. Countless true spirits and terrifying beings dwell here, which is why I told you to be careful." The voice grew fainter until it vanished entirely, and the tiny beady eyes on the vial disappeared as well. Hanli tucked the vial back into his robes and stood up. He stepped to the edge of the cliff and looked down. Below him stretched an endless sea of yellow sand, broken only by rolling hills, patches of reddish desert, and sparse tufts of vegetation. I'll need to find somewhere safe to go into seclusion first, he thought. With that, he rose into the air, departing as a streak of azure light. After more than a month of flight through the boundless desert, Hanli finally came upon a verdant oasis. Along the way, he had encountered many sand beasts, but none posed any real threat. He descended onto a hill at the oasis's edge, intending to rest briefly, when he suddenly frowned and turned his gaze in a certain direction. Violent energy fluctuations were colliding there. After a moment's hesitation, he concealed his aura and headed toward the disturbance. As he drew closer, deafening roars filled the air. Cresting a tall ridge, he beheld a chaotic battlefield where two primordial tribes were locked in brutal combat. One tribe consisted of black-skinned humanoids with rhinoceros heads. Tens of thousands of them, each over 30 feet tall, wielded massive stone axes. Their eyes glowed blood red, as if driven mad, heedless of pain or death. Their opponents were far more numerous, but much smaller. Resembling tigers and leopards, their bodies were marked with cloud-like patterns. They carried no weapons, relying solely on razor-sharp bone claws. The rhinoceros beings were overwhelmingly strong and durable, while the feline creatures moved like the wind. Neither side held a clear advantage, and the battlefield was already soaked in carnage. From atop the ridge, Hanli noticed an empty space at the center of the battlefield, carefully avoided by both sides. There stood a rhinoceros giant nearly 100 feet tall, battling a powerfully built feline beast. Unlike their kin, both wielded formidable abilities beyond mere brute force. It was clear they were the leaders. As Hanli observed, the feline leader suddenly stiffened and sniffed the air. It turned toward the ridge and roared, "I smell the stench of a human." The rhinoceros giant immediately halted and looked up as well. Realizing he had been exposed, Hanli could only sigh. "I'm just passing through." The primordial beings paid no heed. At their leader's command, the two tribes disengaged and withdrew slightly. "There's a human there! Kill him!" Both leaders roared in unison. The two warring tribes instantly united, charging toward the ridge in a tide of fury. Hanli turned to leave at once, unwilling to be dragged into this chaos. Yet a thought struck him. He still had no idea where he was. Perhaps these beings could provide answers. With that in mind, he leapt into the air and plunged downward like a falling star toward the two leaders. The rhinoceros giant swung his colossal axe upward, releasing a storm of crimson axe projections that tore through the sky. At the same time, the feline leader bounded upward, yellow clouds forming beneath each paw like steps ascending to the heavens. Though enemies moments ago, the two coordinated seamlessly. If Hanli were forced back by the axe storm, the feline would strike without mercy. Facing the tempest of axe shadows, Hanli showed not the slightest intent to retreat. Instead, he surged forward like a meteor, charging headlong into the storm. To the astonishment of all present, he was not shredded apart. Relying solely on his formidable physical body, he forced his way through the dense barrage of axe projections and descended directly upon the towering rhinoceros being. The rhinoceros was startled by such terrifying bodily strength, yet sensing that Hanli's aura was not especially profound, he roared and advanced fearlessly with his giant axe raised high. Hanli brought his foot down upon the blade's edge. A thunderous boom erupted as the massive axe shattered into fragments. A violent tremor shot through the rhinoceros being's arms, numbness flooding his body as his legs buckled, and he collapsed to his knees. Chiedi Tenkong, Hanli sprang upward once more, narrowly avoiding a sneak attack from the feline being. As the latter flashed past him, Hanli seized the back of its neck and gave a light squeeze. In that instant, all resistance drained away. Grasping the limp feline by the scruff, Hanli crashed down upon the rhinoceros being's shoulder, forcing the giant creature to bow its head to the ground. All of this unfolded in the blink of an eye. Before most of the primordial beings from either tribe could even see clearly what had happened, their leaders were already subdued beneath Hanli's hand. Shouts rang out as the surrounding primordial beings rushed back from the ridge, encircling Han Li and demanding the release of their chiefs. Han Li ignored them. Lifting the feline being with one arm until their gazes met, he asked calmly, "What are your tribes called, and why are you fighting here?" The feline being glared at him with hatred and remained silent. "You know what a soul search technique is," Han Li said coldly. "Don't force my hand or you'll regret it." The feline shuddered, yet still said nothing. With a frosty snort, Han Li raised a finger and pointed it at the feline's forehead. A translucent thread shot forth from his fingertip, creeping toward the glabella. At that moment, the rhinoceros being beneath him suddenly spoke in its stead. "We are the silver-horn rhinoceros tribe. They are the cloud-spot tiger tribe. Our tribes have been sworn enemies for countless generations." Han Li's brows rose slightly. Something about this felt amiss. "If you are mortal enemies, why speak for him?" Han Li said with a cold smile, "You don't want me to search his soul. That means you're hiding something." Alarm and frustration flickered across the rhinoceros being's face as he inwardly cursed the cunning of humans. Han Li did not hesitate further. His finger pressed firmly against the cloud-spot tiger being's glabella, and the translucent thread pierced straight into its head. The rhinoceros being let out a thunderous roar. At once, primordial beings from both tribes surged toward Han Li, disregarding the safety of their own leaders. Han Li swept his sleeve through the air. Azure light burst forth as 36 azure bamboo cloud swarm swords appeared, transforming into 36 pillars of golden lightning that formed a vast circle several thousand feet wide around him. Balls of golden lightning erupted amid deafening thunder and crackling hums. Primordial beings were instinctively fearful of lightning and flame. None dared to cross the wall of golden light. Seizing the moment, Han Li swiftly combed through the cloud-spot tiger being's soul. After a short while, he withdrew his finger, a peculiar expression on his face. From the memories he uncovered, the truth behind the conflict emerged. The silver-horn rhinoceros being had not lied. The two tribes truly had been enemies for generations, locked in conflict for millions of years. Yet this ancient feud was not the sole cause. 30 years earlier, the ruler of all primordial tribes, the True Spirit King, had suddenly proclaimed that a blood inheritance ceremony would be held at the Holy Primordial Palace on 8 Plains Mountain. All tribes that still carried any of the 8 ancient regal bloodlines were summoned. These 8 bloodlines traced back to the 8 true spirit kings of antiquity. Long ago, those kings had parted ways, leaving only one behind. Their descendants were scattered across the primordial land, those with purer bloodlines remaining powerful, while others dwindled or even vanished. The blood inheritance ceremony had once been the most sacred event in the primordial land, yet tens of millions of years had passed since the last one, due to the incompleteness of the bloodlines. The announcement sent the entire primordial land into an uproar. Every tribe viewed attendance as a supreme honor, and the Silverhorn Rhinoceros tribe and Cloudspot Tiger tribe were no exception. However, neither tribe possessed even the faintest trace of the 8 regal bloodlines, nor did they rank among the top 100 tribes. They had no right to attend. At first, both tribes resigned themselves to staying away. But recently, the Silverhorn Rhinoceros tribe had discovered an adolescent beast within their territory, one that carried one of the 8 regal bloodlines. The beast lay in deep slumber, gravely injured, and was secretly protected by the tribe. As the Silverhorn Rhinoceros tribe prepared to covertly escort the adolescent beast to 8 Plains Mountain, word of their plan somehow leaked to the Cloudspot Tiger tribe. Unwilling to let their rivals gain such fortune and status, the Cloudspot Tiger tribe launched an attack, seeking to seize the adolescent beast for themselves. Han Li released the Cloudspot Tiger being, who collapsed unconscious onto the ground. "Where is this adolescent beast now?" Han Li asked, looking down at the rhinoceros being. The latter remained silent, a strange gleam flickering in his eyes. Han Li immediately pressed a palm onto the rhinoceros being's head and harumphed. "Your courage is admirable, but you won't detonate your soul under my watch." "You won't get anything from me," the rhinoceros being roared. Translucent light flared from Han Li's palm as he invoked the spirit refinement technique, sealing and protecting the being's consciousness and preventing self-destruction. You have tens of thousands of clansmen, Hanli said coldly. Even if you die, I can still find that beast. I don't wish to kill you, so don't waste your life. The rhinoceros being calmed somewhat, yet still snarled, Humans cannot be trusted. Just kill me. Trust me or not, I bear no ill will toward that beast, Hanli replied. Answer my questions and I'll let you go. Hesitation surfaced in the rhinoceros being's eyes. Hanli had spared the tiger and prevented his own self-destruction. Sensing the shift, Hanli asked, Which part of the primordial land is this? The rhinoceros being froze, then answered after a pause, We are a subsidiary tribe of the Earth Dragon tribe. This is the southwestern fringe of their territory. Hanli was momentarily stunned. Such an answer left him baffled. After thinking briefly, he changed his approach. How is the primordial land divided, and where does this area lie relative to nearby immortal regions? Our land is divided by the territories of great tribes, the rhinoceros replied, such as the nine-tailed heavenly fox tribe or the bright regal peacock tribe. As for this region, the Earth Dragon tribe's territory lies between the Golden Origin Immortal region and the Spirit Platform Immortal region. The Spirit Platform Immortal region, adjacent to the greater Golden Origin Immortal region. Hanli swiftly suppressed the thought as it arose. After being hunted by Chi-Meng and Immortal Lord Miao-Fa, he had learned all too clearly the terrifying gap between himself and mid-great encompassment cultivators. To venture into the greater Golden Origin Immortal region in search of Jin Tong now would be nothing short of courting death.